Oh, I didn't see you there. I don't know why I felt the need to do that cheesy nonsense, but there we go. Let me actually pull this a little closer so I can see the chat better. There we are. And a good day to all of you. I hope you're having a nice week so far. I hope you had a nice weekend. It was my birthday on Sunday, as you might have guessed from the name of the live stream. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Much appreciated. Can't stay on due to rehearsals. Wanted to wish you a belated happy birthday. Thank you, Castiel. That looked like some good cake. Yes, it was. It was quite good. Goes well with the raspberries. What did you do to celebrate? Not much, you know. The plague is still ongoing. But you know, I got to be with Liz, which was always nice. She made me a lovely dinner, and we also did, you know, take out at other points in the weekend. We actually did see some friends, but you know, staying 6 feet away and with masks and all that. I miss hugging people. I really, really do. But it was still really nice to see folks, a few at least. So that was what I did. I mean, it was a laid back birthday by necessity. Has anyone ever given you a lap dance or vice versa? I don't think I've ever been given what I would consider to be a proper lap dance. 'Cause in my mind, just like somebody grinding on your lap for 2 seconds and then giggling and wandering off, that's not a lap dance. That's not even a tease. But I don't think I've had a proper lap dance. Have I ever given one? Not for free. Thank you very much, Logan. Happy birthday, you beautiful being you. Aw, thank you. In the past, I've sort of done a thing about unboxing and going on about stuff that people sent to me. There's going to be a little of that here. It's not going to be as much the emphasis for a couple of reasons. Partly because I haven't checked my post office box since Thursday last week, so there may be stuff that has arrived that I haven't even gotten yet, so there's that. In addition to that, stuff has been coming all month, and I haven't consolidated it in one place, and I also didn't wait on opening it. So there's no unboxing. I've opened everything as soon as I've gotten it. It's been a hell of a year, so, you know, I think I deserve that, at the very least. But there are a few things that I will probably highlight as time goes on, though if you follow me on TikTok, you've seen some of these already. My friend said that you have muscular arms. I really don't, but thank you. New Patreon perk, lap dances. I'd have to figure out what the support tier would have to be for that. I think I'd have to open up a new one for that. It would be on the higher end, but I'm worth it. I'm almost 40 and I'm joking about giving lap dances. Thoughts on Disney Plus and theater joint release dates announced today. Okay. I kind of assumed they were going to have to pull that trigger eventually anyways. I mean, Disney was going to put it off for as long as they possibly could. Warner Brothers, you know, caved sooner. But Disney just holding out makes it seem like it was much more, we don't have a choice. Whereas Warner Brothers, when they initially announced that after not consulting with any of their business partners, they just pissed everybody off. All Disney had to do was hang back. What's your favorite movie from your birth year? 1982, if my math is right. Your math is right. And probably Blade Runner. There's some good ones from that year, though. I trolled you on Twitch. Remember that? Yes, Ms. Wicked Wolf. I've noticed. I see you. I see you. Can you recite the rules of Fight Club? I don't talk about that. Not E.T. I liked E.T. a lot as a kid, but I kind of grew out of it. I never had as much nostalgia for that one as I did for some other stuff that I grew up on. There's a professional dominatrix in France who's over 80 years old, so don't worry about age. Oh, yeah, I'm not implying that people of a certain age can't engage in sex work. Of course they can. I'm just sort of saying it's just funny to me. This is not what I would have thought my life was at damn near 40. At least you know there's more than one reason for Death on the Nile being pushed back to February. Gives them time to reshoot all the scenes that featured a certain actor. Oh, I didn't realize that. I hadn't been following Death on the Nile, so I didn't know that there was somebody in there that they were going to have to work around. So I actually hadn't even been following that. Snyder calling out geeks and gamers kind of makes me want to be a fan of his now. I actually do. I do want to talk about that a little bit. Reminder, I try and keep up with the chat, but the only thing that will guarantee I'm going to catch your, what you say, is a super chat, which will also get you a heart and my personal thanks. So that whole thing, which, quick recap, if people don't know, either don't know the context or don't know what happened. So geeks and gamers, Geeks and Gamers is, quite frankly, one of the most toxic fan collectives on social media in terms of just the amount of vitriol that they spew. Ostensibly, they are anti-SJW, but as with a great deal of people who claim that as their core position, they express a great deal of misogyny, of racism, of just a lot of nasty, nasty, nasty stuff that comes out of that group. And they were involved in the raising of money for, I believe it was suicide prevention, which Zack Snyder was on a live stream leading up to, or maybe it was even the same day as the release of his cut, the Snyder cut of Justice League on HBO Max. And he said on the live stream, you know, the logo for Geeks and Gamers is on this stream, but I want to be very clear that we do not associate with them. And there is no room for hate in this fandom. Basically calling them out on the live stream they were hosting with two of the members of that group on the stream with him. It was a boss move. And I actually have a lot of respect for it, especially given the fact that while I'm not going to say that Snyder intended for this to be the case, but let's be perfectly honest. He benefited from pushes from groups like that. A lot of collectives and fan movements like Geeks and Gamers backed the idea of release the Snyder Cut for a variety of reasons, but I have to respect him for basically biting the hand that fed him. I cannot imagine that he's not aware. He was on their stream. He can't be unaware that a lot of those kinds of people were in the fan base that helped get the Snyder Cut released, but he still felt it was important to call out who they were and the kinds of things they did. I was kind of really pleasantly surprised by that. And I'm thinking about, I might try and tackle this next month, sort of diving into, how much responsibility does a creator or an IP holder have towards their fan behavior? Like, do they have a responsibility to speak out? How often does it actually happen that they do? What tends to happen when they do? It's something I'm looking into, and I may do a video on that. But yeah, that was an interesting moment. From Logan Davis, my take on Zack Snyder's Justice League, specifically the Cyborg scene where he's learning his powers. I feel like the message is he has to try and resist the temptation. Yeah, which was kind of my big problem with that scene. By putting all the emphasis on the power he has and putting at the forefront of that the idea of how important it is that he resists doing horrible things, the way that frames him as a hero is it frames the act of not being a monster as in itself heroic. And then further extrapolates the idea of the normal people should just be grateful if he doesn't do all these terrible things. Which is not a perspective on superheroes and definitely not a perspective on real world people in power that I share at all, but is one that Snyder has definitely played into in the past. So like that whole thing really kind of spoke to the heart of my philosophical issues with the Snyder Cut. As a film, as I said in my review, I actually think it's pretty good. And it's probably the best version of itself that it was ever going to be. I don't think we'll ever get a better version of that kind of thing, to be completely blunt about it. But he put together something that was very true to his heart and very true to his perspective. And he made, I think, a pretty good... Although, it's interesting. Something I realized today, I think a big part of why I was more prepared to go with it is because I knew it wasn't going to dictate the direction of future movies. So what that meant was I could treat it like an Elseworlds. Whereas before, if it had come out, if the whole thing hadn't happened, if he hadn't left the project, if Whedon hadn't directed the latter half of it, and he had just gotten to finish his version, it wouldn't have been exactly what we just got in the Snyder Cut. But even if it was, I probably wouldn't have liked it nearly as much because I would have known in the pit of my stomach, God, I'm going to have to watch a bunch more movies just like this. Realizing that it's effectively a one-off made me better able to appreciate it because I didn't have to dread what was next or that I don't know how much more of this I want, even if it's good. So being able to treat it like an Elseworlds just did wonders for my mindset in terms of watching that. What do you think of the tone of Falcon and the Winter Soldier so far? My dad's first reaction when watching it, oh no, please don't be a drama. I mean... I feel like it's too early to settle. I don't think we're truly going to know what the tone is until the two of them start interacting with each other. Hi there, Kyle. I'm getting used to members and the notices that I get from that. Because yes, YouTube memberships are a thing and turned on, and Gozer's having a lot of fun with the emojis. I need to come up with some more of those. Oh, thank you, Aaron. Oh, my goodness. Thank you very, very much. Aaron O says, happy post-birthday. Have a drink to celebrate. I'll reciprocate on my birthday this Friday. Cheers. Probably aged badly and have not seen for years, but Tootsie is 1982. That's right, it was. I haven't rewatched that in a long time either. because my memories of it are pleasant enough. And yes, I suspect it probably hasn't aged particularly well. One of my friends said that if you try hard enough, you can get that ass to twerk. Anyone can twerk it if they try hard enough. My issue with twerking is not an inability to get my ass to move that way. It's the fact that I have a bunch of other stuff that ends up flopping around unless I'm in like a gaff, and I really prefer not to wear them anymore. So, it's there's other issues. As the great Fran Drescher would say, happy 29th birthday. L'chaim. If you have the season 14 Doctor Who Blu-ray box set, I don't. I'd highly recommend the documentary on Elizabeth Sladen that's on there. Really good look at her and a touching tribute. Oh, it's just nice to hear that it's there. Oh yeah, so this is Death on the Nile. It features a certain actor who has had very serious allegations against him. His initials are AH. Oh, I did not remember that he was going to be in that. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. I'd actually almost completely forgotten about him. We should all be so lucky. Oh. Do you think Who Framed Roger Rabbit aged well? Yeah, part of the benefit for Who Framed Roger Rabbit is it's already a period piece. So while that's not a blanket excuse, it does mean that to a certain extent, some of its more antiquated things, like, say, the depiction of Jessica Rabbit and the sexualization of that character, can be chalked up to the tropes of noir, which is playing with, and also sort of the position of sexual power dynamics in the 30s, in which it's set. So, that helps. It doesn't remove that completely, but honestly, that helps quite a bit. Also, fun fact, the backstory for Cyborg they used is his New 52 origin. I'm not shocked. I mean, a lot of the newer stuff has been pulling from the New 52 or more recent origins, and I don't know why. Literally nothing good came out of the New 52. Yes, I'm standing by that. Nothing. There is no good thing that came out of the New 52. Fight me. I'm not in a position to fight. I refuse. I read like a handful of things, only one of which didn't completely piss me off, but I still had issues with on principle. And then I just never read it. Any of it. It was garbage. And I stand by that uninformed opinion. Thank you very much. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is 1947. Okay, so I knew it was the tail end of a decade. I just had the wrong one. Court of Owls and Professor Pig came out of New 52. Court of Owls is garbage. I hated the Court of Owls. It was so bad. Oh. It started out with a lot of promise, but it was trashed, that story. It squandered what little potential it had so quickly. It was really bad. Professor Pig, even if I admit to liking Professor Pig, or rather, liking the version of him that I saw in Gotham, I'm not going to say the New 52 was worth it for that. What viewpoints would you be sympathetic to if they didn't come from figures like Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder? I don't know how to begin approaching that question. I don't mean that to be a jerk. I'm not saying that like, how dare you ask me? I don't even know how to talk to you. Like, I don't. The simple fact is, largely for reasons of self-preservation and my own mental health, I don't interact much with people who hold those kinds of positions for my own sake, because it's not good for me to hear that stuff spouted. And I actually kind of consider Crowder worse than Shapiro, because Shapiro, as distasteful as I find him, at least seems to understand at least slightly the gravitas of what it is he's trying to do or say, or the ways in which he's trying to shape thought. Whereas Crowder falls back on this very misplaced idea that he's somehow a comedian. So he'll say or do something awful or demonstrably clearly wrong and laugh it on and be like, oh, just kidding, bro. Like, I never want to hear Ben Shapiro speak, but I have a tendency to kind of hope that a piece of lighting equipment will fall and hit Steven Crowder in the head while he's speaking. There's your difference. No, I'm not wishing severe harm or death. I'm just saying it evokes a slightly different reaction. Have you seen Davis's videos? I might be doing a commentary track for him that'll be soon on YouTube. Oh, that's great. I've seen some of his stuff. I keep meaning to go through like the backlog of his things, and I haven't really gotten around to it. And you know what's here's what's funny. I'm sorry, going back to that earlier question, I'm kind of hung up on it now. Apologies, this is going to get mildly political. I really have gotten to a point where the presentation style or whatever background knowledge I have about the person who's speaking, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter or that it doesn't affect my opinion of a speaker, but I have gotten to a point where I zero in on the core idea. Like, it's just what my brain does at this point. It burrows as hard as it can through past the words that they're saying to what is the idea that they are actually pushing. What is the actual core concept that is at the heart of these words? And when I do that, I can get angry regardless of who's speaking. In the Discord, actually, earlier today, I watched a video that somebody had put a link to on the subject of cancel culture. And the person being interviewed about it was a professor, and he, I'm taking his word for this, but he claims to have a generally liberal, progressive, general framework and point of view, but he still took issue with cancel culture. Now, assuming that he was being honest about the bulk of his political beliefs, which I don't have a reason to believe he wasn't, regardless of that, and that would put him and I in agreement on probably a great number of things. But I plowed right past that to look at the core of the words of what he was actually saying, and I got really pissed at this guy. He infuriated me. I wanted to shout at him because his argument was garbage and his core ideas that he was pushing were not helpful at best. So the idea of these ideas coming to me from a more agreeable voice, a more agreeable vessel, I'm at a point where I don't think that's gonna make a big difference. It's taken me a while, 39 years, to develop the level of bullshit detector that I've got, but I think it's pretty good at this point. And yeah. Kind of want someone to burn Crowder's house down in Minecraft. Nobody has to actively burn it. Let's just all just do a little drum circle and pray to the creepers that they'll come and blow it up. My mom and I were talking about the bathroom bill. Oh, God. And she asked me, what if a man lies and says he identifies as a woman just to sneak in to molest them? Was that transphobic? Oh, boy. Okay. So this is... apparently, this is where we're going tonight. So... the argument which she is making is a transphobic argument. So that is not me saying that your mother is transphobic. She may well not be, but she is parroting a transphobic argument because the idea of going into the bathroom to molest people is already a crime. So the idea of what she's saying is that we can't allow trans people into the correct bathroom because somebody might come in to do something that we would already prosecute them for and press criminal charges for? What? It fails basic logic. Just the idea that, and this was something Jessie brought up in the video that she made on the transgender athletes issue. When your proposed solution to something restricts the rights of a group, it is on the onus for you to prove that that is necessary. But the way that bathroom bills work is that it postulates a possible thing that might happen, no record of it happening that I have ever been able to find, and says, well, because that might happen, we have to prevent trans people from going into the correct bathrooms. So for the sake of a theoretical bad outcome that has no evidential backing, they wish to engage in the factual, definite disenfranchisement and belittling of a group. They want to definitely take these rights away because if they don't, these rights of someone else might have a thing. There might be an issue. You don't, or you shouldn't be able to definitely take rights away from one group because of what might happen elsewhere. If you can't substantiate what you claim is going to happen, you have no business taking away people's rights. And yes, the right to pee in the bathroom that matches your identity is a right and is a freaking safety issue. Because you know what there's a hell of a lot more evidence for? There's a hell of a lot more evidence of trans women being beaten and raped in men's rooms than there are of men claiming to be women molesting young girls. Your mother is not transphobic, however, she is parroting TERF arguments. She is parroting their talking points. And my recommendation is to try to politely inquire where it is she picked up that argument. And she may not know. It may just be something that's saturated in the environment and the people she hangs out with. So she may not know. But I would be very concerned about what else she's picking up from wherever it is that she got that. So, always fun. Oh, thank you, Jimmy Jonathan Lee. Thank you very, very much. Happy post-birthday. You are always young in spirit. Well, hope so, because I'm still working way more hours than I should be, so I hope that holds. Don't worry, I called out my mom on it. I'm glad to hear that. I said I was going to talk about some of the stuff I got sent for my birthday. I got sent a few pins from someone. This is Badge Wolf is the maker on these. So we've got 13th Doctor and also 5th Doctor. Yeah, you probably couldn't see that with the glare, but, is what it is. I'm doing my best. And I also, this came yesterday. I got a TARDIS key. This was off my Amazon wish list, which was quite nice. Have you seen the Tom Baker story, The Mask of Mandragora? I have not seen that one yet. I think it's an underrated gem, a great mix between Hartnell historical and Hinchcliffe and Holmes gothic horror. Interesting. One thing about Santa Carla, I never could stomach all the damn vampires. Oh, Lost Boys. That's a fun movie. How much water has she had so far? Quarter of a glass. The fear-mongering and think of the children is just manipulative. Yeah, it is. And here's something that I realized this a couple years ago, and I keep coming back to it. Especially when it comes to talking about people's rights. Anything that amounts to a slippery slope argument is a coward's argument and a bullshit tactic. Because when you make the slippery slope argument, which is what is always deployed in these cases, it's what the bathroom bills are. It's, oh, well, if you allow this, then what's to stop this happening? This will lead to that, when there's no evidence for it. Or when one of the arguments, and like if you're younger, you may not know any of this, but I swear to God this was true. One of the arguments against allowing gay people to marry and allowing that to be legal was, well, how will we stop what happens next? How will we stop people from marrying dogs? The slippery slope argument is a way to avoid actually talking about the morality and the validity of the thing at issue. When you make a slippery slope argument, you are instead inventing a later thing that most people would agree, well, that's definitely bad. And then you argue against that. But you're arguing against something that hasn't happened and isn't what is being argued. The only time that anybody should ever be allowed to get away with making a slippery slope argument is when they can cite precedent. When they can go, okay, look, something very, very similar happened in this and it resulted in X. So I think we should talk about that. That I will make allowances for, especially because that's something that comes up in a lot of economic arguments. Because you know what? If they're going to keep arguing that the rich should get tax breaks, I'm going to cite decades of friggin' economic precedent about how that hasn't helped. I'll talk slippery slope then because I can look at the slope we've already slid down this far and go, yeah, no, we already know that doesn't work. But unless you can cite precedent, and by precedent, I don't mean a single instance. I mean a reliable pattern that demonstrates when X happens, Y then also later happens. Unless you can do that, slippery slope arguments have no business in good faith discourse. Of course, it's not a good faith argument 99 times out of 100, but, if you're trying to have a good faith argument, don't use slippery slopes. Please. Whoops. Vera being eloquent gets me hot. Am I eloquent? I just get worked up and lose track of my own mouth. Do you see the Time Lords as genderless and non-binary? And by the way, happy birthday. Yes and no. What I tend to think of the Time Lords of is that gender just isn't part of how they perceive themselves at all. Because even someone who's non-binary and genderless, they would have an understanding that, well, there's this thing and I'm separate from that. I just think it's so nebulous and unimportant to them. I don't think it even registers for that. I made the comparison before. It would be like, getting hung up on somebody's eye color and the inherent validity of brown eyes over blue or what have you. Like, well, no, who would do that? And I think that's probably about as far as Time Lords consider gender. It's like, oh, you're that. Okay, cool. And like, otherwise, it just doesn't matter. It especially doesn't matter if you consider the looms to be canon, which I don't, but some people do. Thank you very much, Kara. Thank you. You get a heart. And, I'm not sure all right, I will try. I'm going to try. I'm going to butcher this. She wrote out happy birthday in Irish, so. La Braith Sana Duit. I can provide phonetic pronunciation if needed. I mean, just let me know how badly I butchered it, and we'll leave it at that. That's good enough for me. But what if people are nice to each other? Then other people will be nice to each other, and then everyone's being nice to each other. That's a slippery slope argument I like, but unlikely. I mean, honestly, there are forces who would argue that would be terrible, and people should not all be nice to each other because that would put the world out of whack and destroy the hierarchy. And some people really depend on the hierarchy. Which Bond film will you review next? The next Bond film that I've already watched and I've shot the review for, I need to edit it, is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And I'm not going to spoil what my opinion on that one was. The review will be out on the break room later this week. La Breha Shana Gwitch. Okay. So, mild butchering on my part then. Destroy the hierarchy? Yes. Hierarchies in general are just not good. They just aren't. Happy birthday, and thank you very much for for creating great content that cheers me up when I'm feeling down. As an artist, I want to draw all the doctors. Which doctor should I draw first? Whichever one you feel a pull towards. I would think that 4 or 13 probably lend themselves to some of the easier art, just because they're easy to sort of segment out. With 4 you've got the hat, the scarf. 13's got the rainbow across the chest, and I mean, that as a non-artist, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me on recommendations for how to do art and drawing, because I do not know what I'm talking about. My daughter is a much better artist than I am, which she is very quick to point out to me on a regular basis. She is 9. Are you reviewing Live and Let Die? No, I am not. I got commissioned for one movie from each Bond era, Live and Let Die is not the Roger Moore that is on the docket. You look like Susan with a long sleeve tee and the TARDIS key. Oh, thank you, Liam. Thank you for the sanity. I offer sanity? Wow, that's a frightening thought, that is. Ghostbusters is to you what Roger Rabbit is to me. Oh, fair. Listen to a Big Finish about the Daleks using a plague to destroy Earth and they're running out of doctors. Bad choice. Is that a recent Big Finish or is that an older one? Oh, you mean bad choice of stories to listen to. I get it. Yes, it's true, Bacasta. We live in a society, don't we, Batman? The slippery slope is if everyone has rights and equal social status, the easier it is for the working class to unify against the rich. Well, basically. Yeah. Am I the only one who refers to you by your last name? You might be. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track. I really hope they didn't ask you to review the worst Moore film. Depends. What's the worst Moore film? I know what I think it is. I'm curious as to what you think it is. I'm going to show some more stuff off. I got sent a couple of shades of green lipstick. I was sent a brighter shade. This one's a darker matte, which I'm looking forward to using at some point. Because yet, even without my Slytherin gear, I will find a way to wear green lipstick regardless. I just realized, pseudonym! I didn't give you a heart for the super chat. So there's that for you. I giggled when you said I see you. You know how much I love to troll you, but I do it out of love. I know. Moonraker. Oh yeah, Moonraker's terrible. Moonraker is not a Bond film. Moonraker is a parody of a Bond film. Moonraker has more in common with Austin Powers than it does James Bond. That movie is... Oh, that is something else. I got sent 2 Terry Pratchett novels, The Fifth Elephant and Feet of Clay. Both Discworld. And I am excited to get some more of the... I do have commissioned reading to finish first, so I don't know when I'll get to these. Including a commissioned Discworld novel. So I'll be getting more Pratchett anyway, which will be nice. I'll see you, Kara. Have a good evening. Can you hum You'll Be Back? No singing or whistling, just humming. I don't know. The problem is, Ms. Wicked Wolf, the problem is I don't know exactly what it is that sets off the detection bots to demonetize my stuff. So not knowing that, I prefer not to push it. What if aliens invaded the U.S., but they only abducted Trump and his supporters while the rest of the country is perfectly fine? I mean, broadly speaking, I try really, really hard to not wish ill on people. Even like fantastical, hypothetical ill like that. I try really hard not to do that and not put that out into the universe if I can help it. Are you left or right-handed? Tell me what you think I am, and we'll go from there. Spy Who Loved Me is miles better than Moonraker, but Drax is a much better villain than Stromberg. That might be true, only insofar as I don't really remember Stromberg, but I do remember Drax. I don't remember Drax for any good reasons, but he's at least more memorable. Take my word for it, Return to Oz is much better than The Black Cauldron. That's not hard. The Black Cauldron is not a good movie at all. It's actually one of the few that I'd like Disney to take a crack at remaking. I'd prefer it stay animated, but if they wanted to go live action, I wouldn't moan too bad because it's just not a good movie. You're ambidextrous. Is that your guess? Interesting. Casino Royale was so good. I love it. Casino Royale is good and also overrated. Like, people fall over themselves for that one. I'm like, there's some big structural problems with that movie. Because it's not a movie, it's 3 movies. It's 3 movies with 3 separate climaxes. It's very bizarrely structured. Is it possible for Bond to become more progressive? I want franchises to do that, but Bond is a drinking, womanizing murderer. He's kind of problematic by design. Yeah, the thing is, I don't know how much you can update Bond and still have it be identifiable as Bond. I mean, at a certain point, if you change him too much, then you might as well have just created a new spy character, which people are certainly within their rights to do, and plenty have. You know, if you're going to change him so drastically that he's no longer identifiable as James Bond, then you might as well have not bothered paying for the license and just come up with your own spy who uses gadgets and, you know, and travels the world. You know, the fundamentals of Bond, once you remove the womanizing and the alcoholism and the brutal murder, well, like, you could go to any number of franchises for that. You could make your own very easy. So, yeah, I don't think you can. I mean, I think the only progressive option, and I'm not recommending this by the way, excuse me. I tried to say both for the record and by the way at the same time, and ended up with whatever it is I said, and I can't remember now. But, Bond is one of those characters that really the only progressive thing to do would be to stop making movies with him. But that'll never happen for as long as he remains profitable. And I don't think that we need to cancel James Bond. Yeah. So, you know, but at a certain point, the idea of making Bond more progressive becomes self-defeating. That said, there are ways to mitigate things. There are ways to address the alcoholism and have it not to be as glamorizing. There are ways to have him interact with these gorgeous, glamorous women that is not as demeaning, that is not as exploitational. There are ways to still have those things, but just not be the worst version of them. And I think that's kind of the best Bond is ever going to manage to be. What do you think of Vader's Shards of the Past Star Wars theory? I don't know what that is. All hail Council of Geeks, Council of the Sith Lords. My lightsaber's upstairs. Nuts. Excuse me. Black Widow looks far better to me than No Time to Die. I mean, I hated Spectre so much. It's really hard for me to be excited for No Time to Die. Because I just... hi, Meg. I am not as think as you drunk I am. If you want to read more Pratchett, I recommend Witches Aboard. It's a fairy tale parody, deconstructs generational bias and identity. Like, everybody has recommendations for Pratchett. 45 minutes in and still articulate. You do. Cheeky, Meg. Cheeky. Discord. Thank you, Carowin. Give me a second. So this is your reminder that either being a YouTube member or a Patreon supporter at a $2 or higher tier gets you access to the Discord, and other than Super Chats, that is the one way to guarantee that I will read your comments. So, let's see what we got. I forgot what the clock's changing in the US and not here. I'll actually be able to watch the stream tonight. Yes, because daylight savings is a nightmare that just haunts us all every year. I probably won't stay up too long, so have you thought of doing a ranking of New Who multi-part stories based on how well they stick the landing / last episode? Idea from, say, Live the Land dropping the ball, as to say the Dr. Dance is nailing it. Special exclusion for Hellbent to avoid the last rant. It's an interesting way to, it's an interesting lens through which to look at multi-part stories, is how consistent is the quality from the first to second part. Part of what's interesting about that is it does not necessarily mean that the whole thing is good, because I would actually argue that something like, say, The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, the quality between those is very consistent. It doesn't drop from one to the other. But overall, it's not that good. But it is consistent in quality. So would you rank that higher than something that either started good and ended up a bit weaker, but whose good part was better than what that two-parter is, but whose bad part is worse, or vice versa? I don't know. I'm not sure I'd actually devote a whole list to that, but it is an interesting way to think about the two-parters. I got one more. Kingsman, to me, is kind of the upgraded James Bond. Also, who are some villains you want to see in the new Batman franchise? I'm excited for Riddler, but Poison Ivy desperately needs to... desperately needs an accurate adaptation to film. The thing is, we're never going to get a good Poison Ivy until Batman as a film franchise is willing to be a little bit sillier. Because unless you're going to integrate the fact that her kiss is poison and she has some degree of control over plants, then there's no point in doing her. Because making her realistic, which for some reason all the Batman movies need to be now, even with a full reboot, they still need to be realistic, that doesn't allow for that. So until we get a version of Batman on film that is willing to be at least a little silly and indulge the more fantastical elements of the source material, we're just never going to get an Ivy that's going to be any good. As to what villains I'd like to see in the new Batman franchise, I think my answer to that's going to heavily depend on what I think of the Batman when it comes out. What villains I'd want to see in that world is largely going to depend on what that world looks like. If it looks the way I think it looks, I'll go with the ventriloquist. I keep coming back to him. I like him. Sue me. Finally, the notion that Kingsman is kind of an upgraded James Bond. Kingsman is a bit of a parody of Bond. It's just a softer one. It's not as deliberately jokey as something I obviously like, say, Austin Powers, but it is sort of, it's taking the piss out of that template. Ooh, Super Chat. Is that new? Did I catch that? Ah, Meg! Thank you, Meg. Are those lovely wavy locks from braids that have been released? I'm guessing yes. Yes, this has been my pattern lately is I will shower, I will put this in a braid, and I will sleep in that, and then the next day I will take the braid out and have the waves. Oh my gosh, Lily. Oh my goodness. Lily Marson. Heart for you. Thank you very much. As soon as I get a job, I'll join the channel and Patreon, but have this birthday gift for now. What are your thoughts on Doctor Who filming in Liverpool with Catherine Tate sightings and autons? It's on my way home, so I had to peek. I haven't dug too much into that because I tried to avoid spoilers and finding out more about stuff. Like, I generally don't follow, I don't follow rumors if I can help it. I don't follow leaked pictures of shooting or what have you. I did hear about Catherine Tate being in the area. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, and that's a really good way to get yourself worked up and potentially disappointed because, there are many reasons why she might be in the area. Now, if it is related to that, then the Autons would be an odd choice to pair with Donna, especially because where we left her, she's still in a position of, remembering anything related to the Doctor is going to set bad things off. So bringing up an alien that she hasn't encountered maybe makes sense, but also there's no real connection between the two. And I would think if you were going to bring her back, maybe something more tied to her actual time as a companion. I have mixed feelings about the idea of bringing Donna back at all, if I'm going to be completely honest. And she is my favorite companion. I love Donna Noble to death, but we also had closure. I feel like the fan desire for favorite characters to come back, it's very easy for that to undo closure. And I think there's a lot of value in closure. We know Donna's okay. And I think maybe that should be it. I actually enjoy Daleks in Manhattan, though. Its main flaw is the Doctor doesn't need to be there. Evolution dropped the ball. Daleks in Manhattan is a solid setup. Evolution of the Daleks is where everything falls apart. Eventually, it all comes back to Doctor Who, doesn't it? I love the way you hum. Okay. One thing I liked about Zack Snyder's Justice League, they actually credited Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Think about that. These characters have been around since before World War II. They were credited in the theatrical version as well. Legally, they have to be. That's not something to give Snyder credit for. That's a legal issue. Warner Brothers got sued over the fact that these guys weren't getting credit. And it's part of the reason that Man of Steel got made in the time frame that it did, because of the specifics of the continued licensing deal between the estates of Siegel and Schuster and DC and Warner Brothers. That they have to list them. So that's not a nod. That's a legal requirement. They've gotten bent over a barrel in court already over that. I know Final Fantasy VI is your all-time favorite video game. What are some runners-up? Well, I mean, being very much still into, my time on 16-bit, it would be things like Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Teenage Mutant Ninja 4. Oh, God. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. Probably the most recent game that might be in consideration there is Journey. I did like that one a lot. Meg, again, thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie. I did too. Have you heard anything about sequels? Would love to see more from the same director. It's really up in the air. We'll get more from Harley Quinn. Because there was another project being worked on called Gotham City Sirens, which is separate from Birds of Prey. I think the idea was to because traditionally the Birds of Prey have nothing to do with Harley Quinn. So I think the idea that they went in with was, we'll use Harley Quinn to introduce all these other characters, then send Harley Quinn off to do something else, and we'll have a follow-up film with just these other characters. I don't know if the movie did well enough to warrant that. It didn't bomb, but it didn't perform what they wanted. So there has, at least last I checked, there has not been firm word on a follow-up for that one, which is really unfortunate. My buddy wrote an 11th Doctor story that took place at a mental hospital where Donna was because she was going crazy from glimpses of her time with the Doctor, and Mr. Finch ran it. Okay. Thanks, I hate it. Don't put Donna in a mental... No! I hate it. No. No. It's a good place for Mr. Finch to be, but no. All right. The Bond DVDs I have, pictures of Bond on disc 1 and the respective films Bond Lady on disc 2. Very telling that Grace Jones and Sophie Marceau were chosen as the pictures. Yeah, no, that tracks. You know what's crazy? Marvel has versions of classic movie monsters like Dracula and the Wolfman, but we haven't seen anything from them. WTF, Marvel. I mean, that's not surprising because, like, that was the kind of move that made a lot of sense in comics, but in movies, like, anybody can make a werewolf or a Dracula movie. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if we get something along the lines of their versions of Dracula when we get whatever the heck Blade is going to be. But other than that, they just don't have a lot of incentive to go that way. Thank you, Alexander. You get a heart. Just wanted to pop in with a happy belated birthday. So happy belated birthday. Lovely. Let's see. You don't do yoga, practice Tai Chi, meditate, practice mindfulness, lift weights, push-ups, sit-ups. What do you do? I drink, and I know things. I swear you set me up for that one. Also 5 Marvel movies this year. Yeah, which I'm a little iffy on. I hope they don't make that the standard, but we'll see. You doubt that's water? You impugn my honor! How dare you, scoundrel, scallywag! 'Tis not my responsibility what filters be upon your screen that taint this pure crystal clear beverage as some color that you presume to be alcohol. I bear no responsibility for such illusions. I'll not have it. Ray Mazer, thank you very much for the super chat. Forgive me for asking this. Oh, dear. But I've known how much this drama has hurt you. But have you heard about Fiennes' comments? I personally think he's trying to be non-committal, but it's not worth a dog pile. Yes. Yes, I did. So, I'm not gonna I'm going to try and not get into this too much. So Ralph Fiennes, who played Voldemort in the Harry Potter franchise, he didn't voice specific support for the ideas that J.K. Rowling is putting forth, but he did side with her insofar as saying, I don't think people should be getting on her for having opinions, which means that he fails to recognize that somebody like her, with the platform and the influence she has, it's not just an opinion that somebody gets to hold. It's actively damaging. So the nicest thing that I can say about my opinion of Ralph Fiennes right now is he does not understand the impact of what she's doing. That is the nicest thing that I can say. The harshest interpretation is that he actually agrees with her, but recognizes that saying so would be a very bad idea, so he went halfway. I'm not prepared to go that far, but I'm just saying the options aren't great. So, Meg, big spender, look at you coming back again and again. Nice to have regulars. You mentioned getting back into reading. If you were going to buy and read a new graphic novel, what do you think you'd gravitate towards? Geez. I want to get into more graphic novels that aren't superheroes. I like superheroes, but the thing about superhero graphic novels is unless you're really immersed in the universes that they take place in and are prepared to keep buying new, there's never any closure in a superhero graphic novel. A volume always ends unresolved so that you buy the next one. I would like to get into graphic novels that are in other genres. I really enjoyed things like Lumberjanes. I didn't enjoy it because I hated one of the characters, but something like Paper Girls or things that are completely self-contained. I kind of just want to step outside of superheroes, partly because I'm getting superheroes from so many other mediums right now. I've got superheroes in film. I've got superheroes on television. Can I pick up a graphic novel and get something else? You know? Oh, Jack. Thank you, Jack. You get a heart. Jack Frederick. Since we've had the Irish let you struggle, I thought I'd go for the Scottish side. Oh, God, no. Oh, no, that's not fair. So, Jack has now put up happy birthday in, I can't even pronounce what dialect you're saying that's in. Oh, my God. Why am I buzzing? Why do I have that? That should not be getting alerts from that. Anyways, okay. Oh, I'm going to assume that's not phonetic. Mal du niet hacht. I don't know. Give me a panic attack with that one. My God. Question, have you seen Marvel's Dracula? If not, to me, he looks awesome. But then I thought Hobbs and Shaw was fun. No, I have not. I haven't, Logan. Have you seen any Doctor Who stories with Vicky? And if so, what are your thoughts on her? I think she's so underrated. I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, by Vicky, do you mean Victoria? Because I've seen Tombs of the Cybermen. But if Vicky is somebody other than that, then I don't know. Recommend Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I've read Neverwhere. That's my favorite book from him, actually, by the way. Did you find me on TikTok yet? I might have, but then forgot. So I guess the answer is no then. New idea. We should just pay Vera to read hard to pronounce words. I mean, I've done worse things for money. So, all right, a couple more things. This made me laugh my butt off. Oh, good. Tracy, you get a heart. Thank you so much, Tracy Dale. Happy belated birthday. Fun emojis. Yay. Ending with glasses, so I take that as a cheers. Vera did well with Yiddish. I mean, I can do a sound decently, so like that's the only thing about me that does decent Yiddish. Vicky was companion to the first Doctor for a while after Susan left. Nope, don't know her. So in a video I made a month ago, 2 months ago, when I made a video talking about whether or not artists should be allowed to keep messing with their art once it's out there. And obviously I brought up director's cuts, and one of the things I mentioned in there was my eternal frustration with the fact that the only version of The Last of the Mohicans that you can get is the director's cut, which I don't like because the ending completely loses its sense of pace. It just peters out because it just goes on too long. So somebody, they went and found, because apparently the only place you can get the theatrical cut is on the VHS. So not only did this person find the VHS, they also scanned the VHS to a DVD. That tickled me to no end. On your burlesque name video, I said Sasa La Bacon. Oh, maybe I'll remember to check that. At least we can now say it's the only person defending you is Voldemort, not a good sign. I mean, yeah, there's that. I recently watched your piece on separating the art from artists, and I was wondering, how do you feel about authors writing stories in another's world like Gaiman doing Lovecraft? My general opinion of that it's a very case-by-case thing. Because like Lovecraft is actually an awkward one to kind of talk about when you talk about his influence and people doing things with him now. Because while I think there's a lot of issues with the man's actual work, because his racism and his fear around basically anyone who didn't look like him is very baked into those stories, and you can't really separate the work from that. The thing is, his work's in the public domain and has been for a while, which means literally anyone can take his ideas, his concepts, his mythos, and weave something new out of it. And I would absolutely say, go nuts, by all means. When something's in public domain, have at it. When it is still under some kind of copyright, it gets weirder for me. And like I said, it becomes very much a case-by-case basis. So like, for example, it's not as good as most of the others, but I did enjoy the additional book that was written to be part of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. It was called And Another Thing. And I cannot remember the name of the person who wrote it. Same person who wrote Artemis Fowl. Ian Colfer, I think. But yeah, I was okay with that because I read it and it did honor the voice of Douglas Adams, and and it felt that felt okay. But like a lot of times, cases like that, if it is still under some kind of copyright, it's just a way to keep the IP alive and for generally a corporation to make money off it. And yeah, my support for that is limited. So Lovecraft is always kind of a weird one to talk about because he's an exception to a lot of the things that are in play when you talk about others of that nature. Anything that is newer than that. So like when you talk Lovecraft, when you talk Sherlock Holmes, there's a lot more wiggle room. Oh, Jimmy Jonathan Lee, you get a heart. Thank you very much. With the polarized reaction to directors with unique visions like Snyder or Rian Johnson with big franchises, do you think fans are too attached? No, because in both cases, I can fundamentally understand why the fans went and rejected what they did. In both cases, it does not feel petty to me. I mean, some people will be petty about it, but overall, it doesn't feel to me like people are just like, this is different and therefore bad. Because I mean, Christopher Nolan was different and it wasn't bad. Tim Burton was different. It wasn't bad. Well, first one wasn't bad. So I don't think I don't think it is as simple as you did unique thing, therefore bad. I think there were specific things about the choices that Snyder and Johnson made that rubbed certain sections of fandom the wrong way. And I think it's an understandable reaction in both cases, at least to a certain degree. Now, when I say understandable, I don't mean the behaviors of some fans either against or in favor of either of those things. Those can still go way off the rails. But in terms of like just having that reaction, no, I think it's fairly understandable, honestly. So, I mean, that is the risk that you run when you get somebody who is more of an auteur and grant him more autonomy to project his style onto these things. Whether or not that works depends entirely on whether their auteur style and sensibilities are going to be a good match for the material. And if the answer is yes, you'll get something that is different, but in a way that fans will love and embrace. Again, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, really good examples of that. But if it clashes, then fans are going to call that out. They just are. Black Widow is going to be on Disney Plus. What are your thoughts? I'm going to watch it on Disney Plus. I mean, that's my thoughts. I'm not going to a theater. Not till, I don't know, not for a while. I watched the Oscar-nominated Matteo Garrone film of Pinocchio this week. The makeup work is incredibly good and shows to Disney that they don't really need to do horrific CGI. I don't know anything about that one. Thanks again for the chat, everyone. See you in the next live chat. Oh, have you been drinking as well, Meg? Have a good night. If you were going to remake The Haunted Mansion and they casted you in it, would you do it? I mean, I don't have a career. So, yes, if they cast me in a major film, unless it was something that I thought was morally abhorrent, yeah, of course I would. There really isn't much of a story to tell with The Haunted Mansion, though. And I love The Haunted Mansion. I love the ride. I love the record. But, like, there just isn't. It's a tour. It's a tour through ghosts that are here. So, I mean, what are your options? You either tell the stories behind these ghosts. There's so many of them, you'd have to pick only one or two. And honestly, none of their stories are interesting enough to hold a movie. Or you tell the stories of someone who came into the Haunted Mansion, and then you've basically just got the record. And how do you make it more than just a walking tour of ghost rooms? Like with something like Pirates of the Caribbean, you could just take the aesthetics and a couple of things about it and just slap it onto a otherwise just do a pirate story. you can't just do a haunted house story if it's going to be Disney's The Haunted Mansion, because just doing a haunted house story means being legitimately creepy. And part of the appeal of the haunted house is that it is creepy but safe. It's creepy but playful. And I don't think there's a way to get an interesting movie story out of that. I just don't. I'm going to wrap it up soon, I think. Remember, only not... Yes, Ben, I remember. Have you seen The Old Guard? Yes, Ben, I have. I believe I have a review up in the break room for The Old Guard. So go take a look at that, old bean. What-ho? Pip, pip. Was that offensive? I don't know. I hope not. My heritage is English, if that helps. Check out In Defense of H.P. Lovecraft by Weaponized Nerd Rage. It's a great video that actually goes into his life and background. I'll add it to the to-do list. No promise on when I'll get to it. Sexy, and you know what? Darn right. I've got a couple of other things to show you before I go. This, I will be curious how many people recognize this and know what this is. But this was something that Liz decided that I should have this, and commissioned one of our friends to make it. So, I will be curious as to who can identify this fellow, this newest addition to my stuffed animal collection. And while I wait to see answers on that, do you know what classic Doctor Who story you plan on reviewing on your channel next? Nope. I need to put a poll to the Patreon for that. Bebo from Legends of Tomorrow. Well done. You folks do not disappoint me. He is Bebo, God of War. Bebo wants cuddles. Oh no, no one says pip pip. Oh, try and remember that one. That's clearly Elmo. Get out. My prediction for the Disney Pinocchio remake is there is no way going to have all the kids trapped as donkeys. Yeah, I expect they'll soften that. Give me a piece of that cake. Get your own cake. So, a couple of other things. This next thing, this wasn't a gift. I had enough people send me like gift cards for Amazon and things like that, that I made the decision to spend that on cosplay items, because I haven't indulged myself by getting new cosplay in a while. And the first couple of things relating to that have come in. I don't have the full thing yet, but the rest is coming. So this is my tease. We'll see if people identify this cosplay would be. Of course, the problem is, with these on, I can't read the chat anymore because these aren't prescription. Didn't you have a flaming sword? Yeah, you did. It was flaming like anything. What happened to it? All right. Let me actually be able to see now. If the Muppet Show ever got a reboot, you should guest star. I would be happy to. Crowley. Yep. Yep, people got it. Crowley. I'm excited for that. I've got a coat coming in, and I've got a wig coming in. It'll be interesting to try and stuff all this up under it. But yep. So, and that's not the only cosplay thing I have coming in, but it is the only thing I've started to get bits in for. The other one is a bit more niche, but was actually really cheap to put together, and is for a movie that I absolutely love, and is one of those cases of I don't care if people get it, I'm just going to do it. But I'll leave you hanging to wonder what that would be. Did you ever cosplay someone from Glee? No! I have a soul. I'm sorry, that was cruel. David Tennant always plays characters with great looks, even Kilgrave. Kilgrave did have a good look. The Coachman from the 1941 scared me as a kid. Yep. No, that is fair when it comes to Pinocchio. I'm looking for a good response to someone who steadfastly believes gender is genetic. Would family be good comparison, or would it come off as claiming trans are honorary or something? By the way, hello. Hello, Black Cover. Well, it sounds to me like you've got a barrier you have to overcome before you can even tackle that, because having that position probably means that they are equating gender with sex in the first place. So if they believe those to be synonymous and the exact same thing, that's a hurdle you've got to overcome before you can even really start tackling the idea that gender is in your genes. Because the honest truth is, gender may be genetic. We don't know. We don't know enough about what factors, if any, contribute to the gender identity that one has. So the issue is not that he believes that gender is genetic, because, like I said, it might be. I don't believe that it is, but it's possible. And believing that gender is in some way genetic, that there is something in your hereditary line that would make you more inclined to be trans, gender fluid, non-binary, that in and of itself, as a belief, is not a problem. The problem is if that belief stands on top of a belief that gender is only the two options, and that therefore is determined by your chromosomes, and that's what they mean by saying that gender is genetic. So exactly how you pull that apart depends on the specifics of what it is they actually believe that is underneath that. Because as I said, that supposition in and of itself, gender is genetic, need not actually be a problem, provided it allows for the acknowledgement of genders outside of male, female, and whatever you were assigned at birth is immutable. That's actually a completely separate issue from believing that gender is in some way genetic. Hope that made sense. But there we go. Damn it. I went to reach for the glass and it's empty. That really is my sign. Are you cosplaying Franklin Jealous Skeletor? If I had the capability to do that makeup, I would do it in a heartbeat. But yeah, I can't. Have to go to school, unfortunately. Wish me luck on my philosophy exam. Best of luck, Gray. Gender binary, nature, nurture, nonsense. Yeah, but like the thing is, I'm actually kind of glad you asked, because it is one of the things that we don't always think about, that sometimes these things that get said, that, things like gender is genetic, as broad concepts aren't the issue. It's whatever underlying assumptions they are sitting on top of that make them an issue, which I think it's an important thing to realize and distinguish, because if you're going to try and address it, you need to attack the underlying root issues that make that belief a problem. Because if you could change the foundational assumptions that someone is making, then the surface level arguments will fix themselves. It has to be the core things that we deal with, that we address, that we, when necessary, attack. It needs to be those core concepts that poison everything that gets laid over them, as opposed to playing whack-a-mole with the beliefs that get stacked on top of that. Because, and like, I don't know your friend. I don't know if I've made the correct assumptions about him, but for the moment, if I have, then that means that if his base assumptions are there are only two genders, and those are immutable, unchangeable facts tied to your DNA and assigned at birth, then whatever rationalization he's offering, such as gender is genetic, you give him a reason to not believe that, he'll find a new set of beliefs to lay on top of his base assumptions. Until you change those base assumptions, he'll just keep swapping out and finding new rationalizations to not change the base assumptions. And you're just playing whack-a-mole with rationalizations, and you never get anywhere doing that. You gotta go for the heart. Sweep the leg. Listen to Sensei Kreese. Sweep the leg. Do you have a problem with that? No mercy. Date myself with that reference, although not as much now. I suppose Cobra Kai put it back in the popular imagination. I got to take these off. That's starting to pinch my ear. I like these earrings, but they are a lot. There we go. I'm a cis straight woman, and gender is confusing because I know I'm a woman and I like it, but I never really felt super attached to the idea of being a woman because I'm a gender non-conforming woman. What can be confusing for a lot of people who themselves are cisgender, especially if they're cisgender people who understand that a lot of what we ascribe as gender markers are performative and not immutable to a gender. Things like makeup, hair length, fashion sense. There's nothing actually intrinsic about women that would incline them to wear dresses or men to wear trousers. That's completely societal. So if you understand that much, trans or gender nonconforming people who don't identify as cis can make things confusing, because from the outside looking in, it can appear as though we are, through our actions, and so with someone like me, by connecting more to my femininity with makeup, nail polish, it may seem like I'm projecting this idea, or that I'm pushing this idea that this is what femininity is. And I don't believe that. I do these things because they make me feel good. And there have been times where they have helped connect me more to my own femininity. These are not my femininity, but they are a means to feel it more strongly sometimes. Not always. Like the makeup still, the nails actually not really. The nails have just been a default for so long. That's just me. Like I don't ascribe any gender markers to the nails at this point. But I do still to makeup. And I do to the hair. But they are a means for me to connect, and it is not that this is being female. It's that this helps me feel like myself. So again, there's a lot of weird ins and outs and eccentricities and things that are really specific to the people who you're dealing with. And I have now gone way over when I said I would wrap up. Excuse me. The thing about lots of these people is they are bad at stepping outside of themselves. My dad, before I came out, couldn't understand being bi because he couldn't envision himself as bi. Yeah. Like that is a big part of the problem for a lot of people. I mean, it's why it's so important to listen and believe people when they tell you their own experience, especially if it is based on life experience that is different from yours. It's why it should frankly be a crime that rooms full of men legislate women's bodies, because they do not and will never understand that experience. At best, they don't understand it. At worst, they don't value it because they don't understand it. No matter how empathetic you are, there is only so much that you can do to truly project yourself and understand someone who just has a different life experience and view of the world than you do. There's only so much you can do, which is why no matter how empathetic you are, no matter how thoughtful you think you are, how well you think you understand something, we have to let people be in the room to make the decisions about their own things that will affect their lives. It's why there have to be women in the room when we legislate women's rights. It's why there has to be LGBTQ plus people when questions of whether or not to restrict their rights, they need to be in there. Not just like bring some in to testify. Like, no, they need to be involved with the lawmaking. Because for so many people, if they cannot wrap their head around it, then as far as they're concerned, it's not even a real thing. Or if it is, it's not worth worrying about. No matter who you are, there are limits to human empathy. There is a limit to how much or how well you are ever going to be able to understand someone else. That there just is. Connor! Thank you very much for the super chat, Connor Johnson. Have you seen the 2015 thriller Green Room? I have. It's pretty good. It's brutal, that one. Would you say sexuality in practice is more nebulous than the labels would suggest? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, labels for me in a lot of ways are more trouble than they're worth. But, like, there's some value in labels in that sometimes you need the shorthand. Because you're never going to really truly get to know somebody as well as you would in a one-on-one basis to be able to understand them sans labels. So labels are a shortcut to basically say, well, like, I'm basically this. But they're also a problem because when we place too much value on the labels, it means that we do not properly comprehend how much people deviate from those labels or fall between those labels, or there is no label for them. And, we just assume that we hear this label like, oh, well, that's definitely what they are. Like, no, that's the shortcut that they gave you so you can try and get a general sense of them. I think that's the case definitely with gender, and possibly even more so with sexuality, because like the idea of gay, straight, bi, pan, asexual, even beyond that, there's you'll run into terms in certain communities with things like heteroflexible or homoflexible. Someone who is heteroflexible is primarily heterosexual, but is open to, or on rare occasions does indulge in, homosexual activities. Basically trying to find a label for someone who is close enough to straight that bisexual doesn't feel right, because when people hear bi, they tend to think 50-50 split, which is almost never the case anyways, but that's a whole other thing. And, try and find a way to find a term that falls in between that. And that's the thing with labels. They either are so broad to be unhelpful, or they get so specific that it gets overwhelming trying to keep track of them all. That's sort of where I get annoyed with them. I need to stop looking at the chat. I have work to do. I need to shoot stuff because I got to edit tomorrow. I got a lot. I've got a lot this week. A lot. So I got to stop. So, and there goes the super chat. Chris. Thank you. Chris McGovern, thank you so much, Nathaniel. I recently came out myself, and it's so true that makeup and nails help, certainly me, to help feel happier and truer to self. Happy birthday to you as well. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. These have been going longer lately. I used to reliably keep them to an hour. They seem to be creeping up to an hour and a half. I'm not going to make a promise that becomes a thing, but, that's been the trend. Is it a burden to be the ambassador? Sometimes. Sometimes it's a privilege. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Stay safe. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. And please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McKevity!